What is up? How you doing? Welcome back to another episode of the Foreigner Podcast. I'm Andre Günther, and I'm presenting you this episode. So today, I got something pretty interesting. I did an interview with Carline from the Foreigners Journal. She's a podcaster, but she'll talk about all of that later in the episode. I put a link down to her website with her blog and her podcast on it in the description of this post or video or upload or whatever, wherever you're seeing or getting this episode, however it's called on that platform. The link will be down below. And I just want to ask you real quick that if you like it and want me to do more podcast episodes where I interview interesting people like Carline, please leave a comment and tell me that, or send me an email at theforeignerpodcast@gmail.com. One word, everything small. And I don't want to nag anymore. You know the drill of liking and sharing and having more people join in on the fun that is intercultural education. So let's jump right into it and enjoy. And hello, there she is, Carline. Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for being on the program today, and I already sent you the questions, so are you ready to go right ahead?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's start right away, yes.
So, first question for my listeners to get to know you. Who are you? What is your story?
So, my name is Carline. I was actually born and brought up in Kenya, and I only moved to Germany in 2003. And I actually moved to Germany because of my husband. I met my husband in Kenya. He was working for a German organization, and I was also working for that organization. And that's how we got to meet. And then we visited Germany. I visited Germany for the first time in 2002. And then later, I think in early 2003, we actually moved to live in Germany.
That's nice. So you've been living here for the past 14 years then?
15 years. I mean, initially I just came visiting. I visited, I think, 3 times before I actually moved to live in Germany.
Okay.
So about 15 years, yes.
Was it difficult to get to live here? I mean, you had your husband. Did you marry first?
Yes, we actually married in Kenya,
mm-hmm.
and we initially planned to actually live in Kenya, and and then at some point we thought it was always a difficult discussion because I didn't speak German,
mm-hmm.
and obviously moving to a country where you don't speak the language is pretty difficult. So
yes, it is.
So we did think of maybe just staying in Kenya, but he really wanted to come back home, and his family also, his parents also really wanted him to come back home. Mm-hmm. So we decided to come to Germany.
That's nice. In what part of Germany do you live now?
We live in Baden-Württemberg.
So that's the western part?
Yes, the southwestern part.
Yes. All right. So before moving here and before a while visiting, you had some certain expectations, I would say. I mean, that's just normal. So what were your expectations of Germany before you actually got to know the country?
Oh, I think expectations, I think you mean what my dreams for
or what you were thinking that you would see or that you would experience here.
Well, I didn't know too much about Germany. A lot of the stuff I knew about Germany was mainly from TV and what my husband told me.
Mm-hmm.
And in Kenya, there used to be a program on TV called Football Made in Germany. And it was basically just displaying German football and skills and efficiency. So basically, there was this belief that Germans are efficient, and because that football was supposed to be so efficient, not necessarily fun, just efficient. And I grew up with that, kind of believing Germans are efficient and a bit cold, and I don't know. I think my biggest expectation that's a very efficient country and very no nonsense people, with the exception of my husband and his family at the time. And yeah, I don't know. I think I would say that my biggest expectation was that it was going to be a very efficient but cold kind of a life.
Not very emotional.
Not very emotional, yes.
I see. So, did they turn out to be true? So are Germans very efficient, cold, and is it all football here?
No, not at all. I think the part that's definitely true is that I think Germans are very efficient. I think there's a very strong sense of discipline with whatever they do, whether it's work and stuff. People tend to be very focused when they're doing stuff. They don't. I think they're no nonsense people. But I think the part about, but I think they're also fun loving. Like people in Germany have a feeling like really also invest time in having fun, and that surprised me. I have to admit, that's not what I expected, and I'm always still surprised to see that Germans are not just these no nonsense people, and that they're actually quite some fun. And yeah, so my expectations were definitely. Some of them turned out to be true, some not. I think that people can be very cold. I think my experience has been that if you don't know people very well, they tend to not bother with people who they don't know. And if you come from a different culture and don't speak the language or know the people, you can feel left out or kind of locked out of normal life.
So you were surprised that Germans can have fun?
Yes, a bit. a bit, yes. No, the thing is, in Germany, at least where I live, I have a feeling that they're always looking for a reason to celebrate. We always have like the Starkfest, and I think like they happen so often, and that's surprising, that I don't know that people are so easygoing. But I think this is something that you can't know if you don't actually live here, If you don't live here and interact with people, it's very difficult to experience this side of Germans,
There's a saying that says Germans are like coconuts. They're hard to crack, but once you're inside, so in their emotional world, they're very easy and very open. Would you find that to be true?
I totally agree with that.
Great.
I really totally agree with that, I think... my feeling has been, or my experience has so far been, that people are very, they take friendships very seriously. I'm feeling like my German friends, that people I can have like really honest relationships and talks with.
Yeah.
There's a sense that I think most of them are not superficial, like they tend to really take stuff seriously, and when they tell you something, they kind of mean it. Which is not necessarily the case, which was not the case, for example, in Kenya, where people tend to be just nice, They can be very nice, but they don't necessarily mean it like that, And that's definitely different in Germany.
Yeah. I can definitely understand that. One more thing to that kind of topic. When I was in the US, I encountered the problem that I, as a German, was very used to making plans way ahead in advance, so I would start planning like 1 week ahead, and the American teens would plan for 1 day ahead, maybe. So is that a thing you encountered too?
Yeah, I don't know. My feeling is that Germans are obsessed with order,
Yes.
Like people are always trying to, like, I think most Germans feel lost when things are just happening just randomly,
Yeah.
I've sometimes wondered, I try to avoid generalizing and claiming that people are this way or that way, but I think that that's definitely something that's very German, that people people feel safer if they can plan stuff, and they feel completely overwhelmed if you just do things spontaneously and just randomly. I don't know if that is something that maybe it's just how the system is. That's how things are organized in Germany, and you get used to all these rules and everyone doing whatever they're supposed to do, and then I think that's the result, that people become very obsessed with planning and that kind of stuff.
So that already kind of plays in the next question. That would be, like, what were some of the problems you encountered while moving to Germany? So was that one of your biggest problems to adapt to that new structure?
I think the biggest problem was by far the language issue.
Oh.
Yes, for sure. I think because if you don't speak the language, I didn't speak German well at the time, and I don't know. I just felt completely locked out of normal life, and it was just very frustrating. It was just, I don't know. I like now when I see whenever I meet someone who's moved to Germany or who's planning to move to Germany, I really feel sorry for them because I know how difficult it is.
Wow.
No, really, it's Germany is a rough country if you don't speak the language,
Yeah.
When I compare my life now in Germany and the past few years, there is no comparison,
Yeah.
I think there's something very humbling about living in a country where if you can't express yourself and you can't do just the normal stuff that you used to do in your former life.
Yeah.
And that was the case for me in Germany. So my biggest problem was definitely the language issue.
I can understand that. So are you fluent now in German?
Well, that's a difficult question. Sometimes I talk to people over the phone and they actually think I'm German. They ask me, were you born here?
Oh, wow.
And it always surprises me because I don't necessarily feel that confident about my German, And I don't know if it's just because of the difficulty I had at the beginning, or maybe that happens if you learn a language as an adult. You never quite reach the level of someone who was brought up speaking the language.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that's the problem. But my German. So normally when someone asks this question, I always say that it's okay. I don't know. It's just difficult for me to claim that my German is excellent because I still have moments when I really get lost.
Yeah, I see. So because you moved to Germany and because of our history and our current politics, I want to ask that question. You don't have to answer, but I mean, you moved to the better part of Germany, but still, did you experience any racism?
Yes. Yes, I have experienced racism. The thing is, before I moved to Germany, my husband and I were both very interested in politics, and we both at the time when we were planning to move to Germany, there was a lot of, the situation in Kenya, the politics is always so crazy,
Yeah.
So that is a lot. We discussed a lot of that stuff, and we also discussed. At the time, that was 2003, 2004. Those hopes that things were going to be really good in Kenya, and it turned out completely differently because the president became very when there's a lot of bigotry in Kenya as well.
He became corrupted.
That's always there in Africa, but there's also the other issue of just a lot of animosity amongst different tribes. So this is something we always discuss, and in relation to Germany, we also discussed, of course, the historical stuff and the history. And my husband used to be really scared and worried about what I thought about it, and whether he did admit to me that sometimes he wondered if that would change how I felt about him, or that he was really worried about it.
Yeah.
So we always talked very openly about it, and when I came to Germany, for the most part, it was okay. His family was okay, his friends were okay. But there were times when I definitely experienced racism. And one time, I was driving from the kindergarten. I picked my son from the kindergarten, and someone and my windows were down, like my window was open, and someone tried to. I don't know whether he wanted to hit me. I was in the car. I was just waiting for the light to turn, and he tried. I don't know exactly what he was trying to do, but his hand was raised, and he had a Nazi, like the swastika on his kind of tattooed on his hand.
Oh.
And someone actually came up, I completely froze, and then I just rolled up the windows like really quickly. I just pressed and rolled up the windows.
Mm-hmm.
But then, so I was so shocked that I just parked like right next to the place. The guy basically crossed the street again. He didn't stop. But there were people who came, who like really panicked and came to ask me if everything was fine,
Oh, that's good.
So for me, what I would say is I've definitely experienced racism, like being targeted because I look different. But I've also experienced a lot of compassion, and a lot of understanding, and I try to concentrate on that. I can't claim that that bigotry and hateful people are only in Germany,
Yeah, of course.
because I've experienced this, because there are also this kind of people in Kenya. So I don't want to claim like it's just a German thing, but yes, I've definitely experienced racism.
Yeah, and I can still tell you that you're pretty lucky to live where you live, because I live in a state where our new right-wing radical party got 27%, so...
Like the
AfD, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really difficult topic, it's really...
It is.
Yeah, it's, on the one hand, I was discussing this with some German friends, and I was telling them about the whole situation also in Africa, Sometimes when people see Africans, they assume that they're all the same,
Oh, yeah,
or maybe like, but this is just not true. And in Africa, there's also a lot of animosity amongst different tribes,
Yeah.
So this is not just, I wouldn't say that it's a European thing or a German thing. And I wish I could claim this, but this is just not true, So I think maybe for anyone who goes to a foreign country or goes to a new place, they should just know, like, just like in any part of the world, you meet all kinds of people, So
yeah. You can't just stereotype an entire continent that is as big as Africa to be all the same people.
No, you can't, But the same way you can't stereotype the whole of Germany,
Of course.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's I really choose to deal with that topic very openly. I don't try to pretend that it's not there, but I don't necessarily put my energy in it,
Yeah.
Because I just know too many good people,
Yeah.
Normal good people to claim this, and to put a lot of weight on the instances when things don't go right,
Let's move on to the next question. So we were talking a little bit about your stereotypes of Germany coming true, but are there other things that you learned about the German culture?
Yes, I think what I've learned about Germans is that they're very modest people,
Modest?
That they tend to understate everything. I think that even when people do excellent work, they kind of, I don't know, they're very humble,
Yeah.
And this is, I think, contrary to how, the way, I don't know, I don't want to claim that Kenyans had the opposite, but that surprised me,
Mm-hmm.
Germany is somehow thought of as they do a lot of things very good, very well. Like for example, they make these high-end cars, the Mercedes or BMWs or the Audis, So you have this picture of maybe people who brag a lot, and yet I've experienced the exact opposite in Germany. I think people do the exact opposite. People tend to really frown upon people who brag.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people are very modest, they're very humble, and for me, that was a really pleasant surprise,
Yeah.
Do you think that you guys are humble, or am I imagining this?
I never thought about that kind of aspect, but now that you say it, I mean, yeah, it's not like good behavior to brag about yourself and what you did and what you've done, and to say that you're also great.
Kenyans do that a lot. Kenyans do that a lot, like the things that a German would just never say, A friend of mine, her dad had an accident,
Mm-hmm.
and then she told us about it, and the car was completely spoiled. So she told us about it, and she said, and asked, "Oh, what kind of a car was it?" And she said, "Oh, just some car." She didn't mention like the brand of the car, you know. And then later on, we found out that it was a Porsche, you know.
Oh, wow.
Yes, she felt embarrassed to even mention that it's a Porsche, you know. And this is just, I don't know, I imagine that conversation, if I had the same conversation with a Kenyan, it would go completely differently, you know.
Yeah.
They probably really focus on the brand of the car, and I don't know, it's small things. But I think the other thing is there's a sense of, I usually feel like Germans have such a strong sense of justice, you know, like they really resent unfairness, and so when people, for example, when rich people don't pay taxes, they really get mad about it and speak out. And this was for me something new, you know, that people just speak up and people really resent when things are unfair, you know. I think that's also typical German, you know, from my experience.
I wouldn't quite agree with you about that, because I think that Germans are very fast to be mad about others not being fair, but for themselves it's not that big of a problem to not be fair.
Oh, really?
I feel like that, because I mean that's how you see that lots of rich Germans are not paying taxes correctly. But if others are not paying taxes correctly, then they are the first ones to say how bad it is. But for themselves, it ain't no problem in here.
No, but you know what? The difference is, in Kenya, there would be people cheering, you know, like let's say me and you are friends and you don't pay taxes, and or you're corrupt or something, I would cheer you, you know, I would just cheer you on, you know, I would not necessarily resent you for it, you know. And I think in Germany, maybe people wish the same things for themselves, but they resent it when other people have them. But in Kenya, people don't even resent those who steal from them, you know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I think what happens in most African countries would not happen here, you know, because people are just so, you know, a friend of mine claims that Germans are so envious of successful people that if you have more than them, then they always really feel bad, and that's why they speak up. But I really wish that Kenyans would be a bit more like that, you know, like not cheer corrupt politicians who steal from them, you know, like really get mad about injustice, and maybe that's the way societies can change for the better, you know, if enough people get outraged about bad things.
Yeah, totally. I could not agree more with that statement. And you already kind of compared Germans to Kenyans. So my next question would be, what were like the main things that you colluded with, or that your culture colluded with the German culture? So there were cultural differences that you had struggled with.
I think the one thing I really struggled with was like speaking up, you know. Like once I was at a supermarket, and I was just at the entrance, and some lady came and parked on a parking spot for disabled people, and then some man just really shouted at her and told her off, and then she panicked and basically drove off, you know. And that shocked me, you know, even though it's something that Germans do a lot, but it really shocked me that you could just tell someone off, you know, like if someone does something rude, or I don't know, if someone breaks the rule, that you could just tell them off like right away like that. Yeah. That's something I really struggled with, you know. And I remember being totally horrified when I saw that the first time. And then once I was in a tram, and I sat and someone just came. I sat on a seat, I think reserved for old people or also disabled people, and someone just told me like I should go and sit on a different spot, you know. And I remember thinking to myself, like, really, like, is this need to correct people? I mean, I totally appreciate it when people speak up, but there's this need to correct people and to just put people in their place that totally used to freak me out, you know.
But I think for some Germans too, because especially younger Germans, like teenagers, they can find the different nuances in how to tell someone. So it can be considered rude if you correct someone in a rude way. Like just flicking them off and yelling at them is not the right way to tell them they're doing something wrong. So I think that that's kind of a problem for Germans too, because we have a culture that it is okay to correct others. We often do it in the wrong way.
That is, I don't know. The thing is, initially when my German wasn't so good, I used to think that it was so rude.
Mm-hmm.
Now I kind of find it normal, when people behave in like this crazy way, like telling people off. I'm so used to it that I just think it's normal,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I've become quite German, But now I honestly don't have a problem with it, I just see it as, that just happens here like that,
Yeah.
And the thing is, when your German is not good like my German was at the time, it's really difficult to know if someone is being rude or if someone is just, or if someone is just, it's difficult to know the difference between someone being rude and someone just talking to you normally. At least it was for me at the beginning.
Especially in a language like German, where everything sounds like you yell it.
That's initially I used to feel like it was quite aggressive, and now when people talk, they still talk probably the same way. I don't interpret it the same way,
Yeah, you get used to it.
Yes, you get used to it, and maybe you also understand the culture, and you know that some people just are just like that, and they're not necessarily malicious, That's just how they are. You kind of learn to accept a lot of things, then, with time,
Yeah, yeah.
Because I don't know. For me, one thing, when something like that would happen to me, I would wonder if someone is picking on me because I look different.
Mm-hmm.
I think about that. But I think with time, now I don't see it like that. Not necessarily, once in a while someone will still do something maliciously, because maybe they're being racist.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily think of criticism as racist,
Yeah, yeah. So you already kind of talked about that at first you had problems understanding the German cultures, or you were having issues like when someone would speak up to you and maybe correct you. And it sounded like it just changed over time. Was there something you actively did to deal with erupting conflicts, or something you learned to do?
Apart from learning the language?
Yeah.
I think I developed a thick skin. I think you need that if you live in Germany, The fact that people are so quick to tell others their opinions about stuff just means that you have to develop a thick skin,
Oh yes, you do.
You need, and a sense of humor, and kind of be able to laugh about it,
Yeah.
And I think it helps. It helps to have German friends, because when you share an experience with them, they can tell you if someone was being crazy or if that's normal,
Yeah. I can relate to that.
Yeah, because then you know that okay, that guy is a bit crazy, But
yeah.
So I've developed a thick skin with time. I still once in a while something still happens that gets to me, but mostly I think I've kind of learned to just deal with it now.
Yeah, understand.
I think you don't even have much of a choice if you live in a foreign country,
That is right.
You're not going to change everyone, so you have to just find a way to live your life.
Yeah. Germans are very direct in ethnicity,
Yes.
I would say, or a different. No, we are a very direct people, if that's the correct way to express it. So I think that's why also a lot of Germans have big egos, because they just need to be able to brush off any bad things that is said against them.
You know what's funny about it's funny that you talk about Germans being direct, Like initially I really struggled with that, with people being direct, but now I'm so happy that Germans are so direct, because when I go back to Kenya and talk to my family and friends, I have a feeling that they're always beating about the bush,
Yeah.
And it gets under my skin, And this is I was brought up exactly like them, never being so direct and always trying to be nice all the time and not telling people exactly what you think or trying to sugarcoat everything. Now I think it's so annoying when I hear someone talk like that,
Yeah. I can relate to that. When I was in the US, everyone was stunned by how direct I was and how I had no problem
really?
speaking up to teachers. Yeah, like I would just raise my hand, and if the teacher called on me, I would just say my opinion, and the whole class would just stare at me completely stunned.
Oh man, what kind of stuff did you say? What's the most memorable one?
Well, it wasn't even that like kind of crazy stuff that I said.
Just normal stuff.
Yeah, it was just normal stuff. Like I would say, well, if we had like a theory explained or something, I would say, well, that looks kind of stupid because of that, and then I would like give examples for why it's stupid or why it's wrong, and the whole class would just stare at me because I just doubted what the teacher said.
Oh man, you know, the funny thing is, actually, when I started studying at the university, I was doing my master's, and I remember we had this small class, and we had a visiting professor, and then he told us to give him feedback. You know, he wanted feedback about how the lecture was.
Oh yeah.
And then my classmates raised their hands and completely criticized him. You know.
Yeah.
And I remember. Honestly, I remember freezing, you know. I remember thinking to myself, really? You can do that? You know, because I'd never seen anything like that, you know. And when I asked them later, they all acted so surprised, you know, because I was really shocked at how they completely told the lecturer their opinion. And the lecturer really looked a bit shocked as well, you know.
Oh.
But he was actually German. He was a visiting professor from Berlin, I think. And he looked really shocked about or maybe, I don't know, I think he was just...
Then maybe that hurt his big ego.
I can imagine this. I mean, the thing is, I told myself, if I was in his position, I would probably just be as crushed, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I would ask German students for feedback, you know, because I'd just be too scared of what they'd say, you know. But this is really, I would want to claim now that this is typical German, to just say directly what you think. You know?
Yeah, it definitely is.
And sometimes it comes across, it's just too hard, you know, it can be hurtful, you know, if you're not used to it can be really hurtful, you know.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on, I would say, because we're already pretty good in the time.
Okay.
Is there any advice that you would give anyone who is planning to live in any other country, not just Germany?
I think the most important thing actually is just to learn the language, you know. I think if you speak the language, it opens a whole new world, you know.
Yeah.
You talk to the people, you get to understand the people. A lot of things are actually transmitted through language. So if you can speak the language, you will understand a lot of things, and it will just make your life much, much easier, you know. So I think if you plan to move to a country where German is spoken, then do your best to learn the language. If you move to a country where Spanish is spoken, do your best. And the same, if you move to the States and they speak English, then do your best to speak English, you know.
But how do you learn a language fastly? And especially what we learn in school is often not what they actually speak there.
Yes, I know that. I mean, you have to... I don't know. The thing is, I think you have to just look for people to talk with, you know, because it's what you learn, like the theory part of a language, the grammar. It's rarely how people actually speak, you know.
That was correct.
That was also the case for me. That I initially learned the grammar and that kind of stuff, and it was really difficult still to speak to people, you know, because no one speaks like that.
Yeah.
But that's also, you know, in Kenya. Like there's this, you often meet tourists in Kenya who say, for example, jambo. Jambo is a Swahili word for hello, you know. But no one actually says this word, you know. So if you say this, sound like a moron, you know. because it's correct, it's all correct and all, but no one, it's just so awkward to talk like that, you know.
That's the only word I know in Swahili.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You know, if you go to Kenya and tell someone jambo, they just smile, you know. It's so correct, you know. It's so, I don't know. It's also just like here in Germany. I mean, people, well, sometimes Germans say Guten Tag, but no one really goes around
Yeah.
like, it's just so formal and so, it doesn't fit to how
Just
you talk.
everyday life.
Yes.
Okay. Next question. Do you have a favorite quote? That can be about anything. Can be German or English. Doesn't matter.
I think I thought about this, and I think there's so many quotes I could use, but I think my favorite quote would be one's destination is never a place, but a new way of seeing things.
Ooh.
It's a quote by Henry Miller.
Mm-hmm.
It's an American writer who used to live in Paris. And he actually had like German ancestors, and so German American, but
Mm-hmm.
he used to live in Paris. And he wrote quite a bit about life in Paris,
Wow.
So, and I think the thing is, it doesn't matter so much where you are,
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to strive to look at things differently, like to also see the place through the eyes of those who live there,
Yeah.
It's not so much. I think if you have an open mind, I think you can live anywhere, actually,
Uh-huh.
I think you can, because you will not have, you'll appreciate that it's a different place,
Mm-hmm.
and that the rules are different, the people are different, and I think this is really, really important to do,
Yeah, to keep your eyes open, ears open, hearts open.
Exactly, yes.
Okay, so I always advertise like one item that I would advise people to get. So, is there any item that you would say anyone who goes abroad should own?
Item like a physical item, something. I think it depends on what you're going to do abroad. If you're as a student, I think your needs are probably different from someone who's moving to live permanently in a place.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think I would honestly say that the only thing that you need is an open mind.
Oh.
I can't think of one item, just one particular. Oh, a journal.
A journal.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
kind of just try to capture what you're seeing or experiencing,
Yeah.
Yeah. And because I don't know, I think when I remember my first times in Germany, it was exciting and frustrating,
Mm-hmm.
And I look back, and sometimes I really wish I had written everything down how I felt, I mean, I still have quite clear memories of how lots of things felt,
Yeah.
But I think it would have helped, And now I keep a journal. Whenever we travel, wherever, I always kind of try to write about what I'm feeling, what my impression of the place is.
And I mean, you have a blog. The
Yes,
Foremost Journal, actually.
Yes, I do. I do
No,
have
it's a podcast. It's not a blog, a podcast.
I have a podcast and a blog.
And a blog. It's both. Great.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I'll definitely put a link to that down in the description, so everyone should go check it out.
Yes, that would be nice.
And is there anything else we should talk about?
For now, I actually do want to do an interview with you as well.
Okay.
So not right away, but I would like us to do it. I'll let you know when we could do it, because I was talking to a friend of mine. She's a teacher, and her school organizes trips for kids to like exchange students to go to the States,
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling her about your blog, your podcast,
Mm-hmm.
It's something that would really interest our kids, so I'm going to prepare the questions, and I would really like to do an interview with you,
Yeah, sure, no problem. We can do that.
And I did give her a link to your website.
Oh, that's nice of you. Well, then, thank you very much for being on this episode.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, sure. Goodbye.
Bye.